elementary is separated a page each for 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and then there's a page for middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. As you can see, in 7th grade they take the science test, and in 8th grade the social studies. That will be the same this year. They're looking at changing that for next year based on the new science standards, the MGSS standards that are coming out. So I'll keep you posted on that as well. That seems to be changing all the time. And then there's a page for the high school scores. In the high school, as you know, they take last year, they took the ACT. Then on the next day, they took the work keys, which is also an ACT assessment. And then for the next 2 weeks, they took math, ELA, science, and social studies, M-STEP, in the 11th grade. This year, they're cutting that down a little bit. So this is the only time you will see ELA and math. That's why I put an asterisk there for you. The ELA and math will be included in the new SAT assessment scores that we'll be getting for the 2016 assessment. Science and social studies will continue to be M-STEP, and they're going to both be given on the same day, which would be day 3. So it's not spread out among weeks like it was last year. So it'll be a lot easier for our students and for our staff at the high schools. The page following those M-STEP scores, I put together some ACT statistics from our district from last year. Again, this will be changing because we're switching over to SAT. I've been to several workshops on how SAT is scored, and we'll just have to wait until those come out this spring, and I'll give you a good report on those when we get those. If you have not subscribed yet, anyone can subscribe to the Michigan Department of Ed Spotlight. You'll find that on michigan.gov/MDE. On the assessment page, there's many links on many of the pages. And this comes to your email mailbox every Thursday, sometimes Friday mornings, but usually every Thursday. And it is full of information and updates. This latest version I have from February 18th, for example, talks about the early literacy and mathematics assessments that a few weeks ago we were told were going to be mandated in 2016-17 for kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd grade. They would have to be tested twice per year. And so now, according to this, they're still thinking, or they're thinking again about it. There will not be a kindergarten assessment. They know that for sure. So not too many updates about that at the conference last week. But so if you're interested, that Spotlight is great to keep you posted on what's going on in assessment. Are there any questions?
I do. I have a question.
Yeah.
It says here for the Titan shows zeros across. Is it their grades get added to their homes?
That means that no students were proficient. That's the percent of the proficient students at Titan was 0.
0.
Yes.
So what are we doing? Is this a true picture of what our students are capable of doing?
You know,
this test, and what are we doing? Because sitting here year after year, scores in one area might go up a little bit,
right,
but then they come back down. And we don't just want to be an average district. So what are we doing? What are we changing? In light of budget discussions tonight, do we have delayed curriculum needs in this district that aren't being addressed, that we need more materials for our students so that they can learn better, or teachers can teach better with added materials?
right.
What's the answer here?
You know, unfortunately, there is one simple answer. But what we can get from these scores, which was your first part of your question, is we can get a snapshot. We can, when it's fair, comparing apples to apples, we can compare and say, how are we doing with like students? Those answers then would tell us about our programs and our processes and how we are running the district. So it's very difficult to just come up with one answer. I can speak to elementary curriculum and tell you that there is nothing delayed. We have been very diligent about staying with the state mandated curriculum that Michigan has provided to us, and providing our teachers with that support, documents, materials and supplies and things like that, both through the district and through state and federal. Using supplemental funds for supplemental materials is very, very important. Again, I can speak for elementary ELA, where we have spent a lot of state and federal funds on something as simple as books that students don't have at home. I was looking at some of the statistics of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders that took the assessment last year, and 82% is the average that are economically disadvantaged out of all those students. And those students are those that are struggling. And the lowest percent of them in an elementary was 68%, but the highest was 95%. That 95% of their students are considered economically disadvantaged. And so that can mean a lot of different things, that they just need that extra support, and we have economically disadvantaged students who do fine. But statistically, when you have students who are economically disadvantaged, you're going to have more struggles with your scores. And that is across the nation. So
that's what we get title funds for.
absolutely. And it's supposed to level the playing field. Absolutely. And it's easier said than done. And so if that were true, state and federal funds, title funds, are distributed nationwide, yet we still have that huge gap. No matter what city, small town, large city, rural, urban, no matter what state, there's a gap between economically disadvantaged and not. So somewhere in there, something's got to change. You're absolutely right. And so we're constantly doing program evaluation, taking a look at curriculum, programs, people. But as you heard from that wonderful, wonderful testimony about Debbie Bordeaux, who is an amazing teacher, she has 34 students, which to me, that how can any student learn in a room with 33 other students? But it's a 2-3 split. So those are the things I think we need to look at as well. There's a lot. Curriculum, people, materials, and class size.
Question with regard to the paper versus online testing. So I'm just wondering if that presents an advantage or disadvantage. I mean, I'm assuming that there's some sort of disadvantage in that, but help me understand that.
In taking an online version versus a paper pencil version?
Paper, I would think, would probably be a bit more problematic, but it depends, I guess, on the student.
You know, it does. It depends on the student. And that's the number one reason why we were not technology ready last year. We had the capabilities of taking a group of students to a computer lab within some of our schools and giving the assessment. But were the students ready? They have to type short answer, constructed response, and long essays on a keyboard. We have students who go into the computer lab and they're touching the screen. We have little ones that are so tiny, the mouse is huge. They don't know how to use the mouse and maneuver. And when you're on the M-STEP assessment, you have to scroll as you're reading. And then you have to look on the, it's a 60-40 split screen. And then you have to look to the other side of the screen and look at the question and go back to the other side. There's a lot of skills that go into online testing. And so the schools who are online testing this spring have been preparing for those types of things, having their students learning how to type and click and drag and all of those technology skills, as well as doing some of the practice assessments that MDE provides for us for the assessment. So is it, you know, is it an advantage? Time will only tell for us, really.